Tonight's episode is about one of the most pervasive and unsettling tales in modern folklore, the black-eyed children. Are they paranormal entities, hoaxes, or product of our digital age, an urban legend not from ancient texts or oral tradition, but from a blog? Let's dig into the mystery carefully. The black-eyed children entered the public imagination when a Texas journalist named Brian Bethel posted a story to an early internet forum. He described an encounter outside a movie theater in Abilene, Texas. Two boys, pale and oddly dressed, asked him for a ride. Something about them felt off until he noticed their eyes, completely black, like polished obsidian. Bethel's account went viral before the term viral was widely used. In the years that followed, hundreds of similar stories emerged online, many echoing the same details. But here's the thing. No known reports of black-eyed children predate Bethel's post. There's no mention of them in historical folklore, no newspaper reports, no campfire stories. At least not by that name or with those distinctive features. This raises a fundamental question. Did Bethel experience something real? Or did his story create a template that others unconsciously or deliberately followed? Despite appearing spontaneously in the digital age, stories of black-eyed children tend to follow a remarkably consistent pattern. The children are usually between 6 and 16 years old. They appear at night, often in isolated areas, porches, parking lots, country roads. They ask to be let into a home, a car, or a business. They never force entry. Their voices are unusually flat, their speech oddly formal, and always their eyes, jet black, no whites, no pupils. Let's hear an excerpt from one such report.
It was almost 10 p.m. when I heard knocking on my apartment door. Two kids stood there, heads down. The boy said, "Ma'am, we need to use your phone." I felt immediately unsettled. They weren't looking at me. When I asked where their parents were, they lifted their heads and I just froze. Their eyes, they weren't human. I slammed the door and never looked back.
I was home alone during a storm. The power had just gone out when there was a knock on the door. I opened it a crack and saw two kids, maybe 12 years old. One said, "Our parents will be here soon. Can we come in and wait?" I almost opened the door wider, but then I looked at his eyes. Solid black. I slammed the door and they just stood there for another 5 minutes, not moving, not blinking.
Are these accounts genuine paranormal experiences, misidentifications, or something else entirely? These encounters rarely escalate. The children don't break in, they don't attack, but they leave behind a lingering sense of dread. Some witnesses report feeling nauseated, while others say their pets went into fits of panic. One woman claimed her nose began bleeding after the encounter. At first glance, the black-eyed children might seem like a new kind of horror, but when we look deeper, we find roots in much older soil. Anthropologists and folklorists point out striking parallels to ancient legends. The vampire, who must be invited in. The fair child who appears innocent but brings misfortune. The changeling, a creature disguised as a child but carrying dark intent. Even Middle Eastern jinn, or Christian demons, often appear in human form and need human assent to act. What's new is the setting. The stories don't take place in medieval forests or cursed villages. They happen in strip mall parking lots, apartment buildings, and gas stations. The fear has moved from mythic wilderness to suburban quiet. It's never clear what they want, but they always need permission to come inside. Let's look at the most commonly proposed explanations through an objective lens. The timing of the first story, posted online during the early days of the internet, suggests that black-eyed children may be a product of creepypasta culture before the term even existed. Like Slender Man or The Rake, the legend may have grown through suggestion, repetition, and digital storytelling. Folklorists have noted how these stories mirror older motifs: the supernatural stranger who must be invited in, and the child as a harbinger, a common theme in horror. Some psychologists suggest these experiences could be rooted in hypnagogia, the hazy state between wakefulness and sleep. In that state, the brain is prone to hallucinations and irrational fear. Others propose suggestibility plays a role. If someone is already familiar with the legend, they may misinterpret ordinary events through the lens of that fear. It's entirely possible that some, maybe even most, of the black-eyed children stories are fabrications. But even fabricated stories can tell us something important. Why do these stories spread? Why do they resonate? Because they tap into something deeply human: our fear of deception, of the uncanny, and of innocence turned inside out. While many researchers view the black-eyed children as modern folklore, others in the paranormal community propose alternative explanations. The black eyes mirror descriptions of alien greys, and their strange demeanor has led some to wonder if they're extraterrestrial hybrids, testing how humans react to their presence. The insistence on being invited in evokes vampire mythology. Could the black-eyed children be another version of the ancient idea of demonic permission? Some theorists suggest that collective belief has brought these entities into existence, something like tulpas or thought forms. If enough people believe something is real, might it become real? These ideas are speculative, of course, and not supported by empirical evidence, but they do illustrate how the legend adapts to different belief systems. The black-eyed children might be fiction, but they've become a fixture of modern paranormal culture because they represent a perfect storm of fear. The unfamiliar hiding behind the familiar. The isolation of the modern world. Late nights, quiet homes, no one around to verify what you're seeing. And most of all, the fear that something is watching, asking to be let in. But why does this legend stick? Why, in a world full of digital distractions and daily chaos, do so many people still return to this one image? Two children, pale skin, black eyes, a quiet request to come inside. The answer may lie in how the black-eyed children invert something deeply human: our instinct to protect the young. They're not monsters with claws or glowing red eyes. They're kids. They look vulnerable. They ask politely. Yet everything in your body tells you something is wrong. And that's where the fear lives, not in what they do, but in what they don't do. Not in violence, but in invitation. Whether or not you believe the black-eyed children are real entities, psychological projections, or just a modern campfire tale passed around digital flames, there's no denying their cultural power. They reflect our anxieties about strangers, about trust, about what hides behind familiar faces. They are liminal figures, walking the edge between human and not, safety and threat, the seen and the unseen. So what are we to make of the black-eyed children? Are they lost souls, sinister entities, or just the stuff of late-night urban legends? Whether they're harbingers, interdimensional beings, or just manifestations of our own fear of the unknown, one thing remains disturbingly clear. Those who claim to have seen them will never forget the experience. So, whether real or imagined, these black-eyed figures have carved themselves out a niche in modern folklore, and if the legends are true, then they're still out there, just beyond the glow of the porch light.